Welcome back to another edition of Next Day Notes. I know I got on here last night and rambled for about 20 minutes, but wanted to get on here again. Just picked up my morning coffee because I can't function without it. A little under the weather, so I sound nasally as fuck, so bear with me. Thanks to those that tune in and watch my stupid ass. And I wanted to just go over how I feel the next day. Got to let last night sink in. I'll probably iterate some of the things that I said last night, and then maybe talk about, looking forward. Look forward to the remaining opponents. But anyway, so obviously last night was a heartbreaker, and then having some more time to look over some stats, traditional stats and some advanced metrics. I wasn't fucking wrong. If you're gonna point at one finger, if you're gonna point a finger at one person, see, I don't have coffee going. I need to wake the fuck up. Wake up. You pointed at Fuller. Unfortunately, the first half did occur. It happened. Again, I said last night, the second half defense was much better. We limited the cutback lanes, had better contain, better leverage, filled gaps better, didn't let Shipley just run roughshod on us. Or any running back for that matter, like did at the first half. But the first half did happen. And Clemson had 250 yards of offense in that first half. And about 7 yards per play in that first half. And mind you, there's multiple games where Clemson couldn't even muster 300 yards in a game. And they had 250 in the first half. And so when you really look at the numbers and you think back to the things that happened, again, like I said last night, 3 missed field goals. And their kicker doesn't stink, as far as I know. 3 missed field goals, right? They turned it over 3 times, and yet they had 370 total yards. I think they ended the night at like 5.2 yards per play, which isn't great, but that's one of their better outputs of the year. Our defense's ability to stop them, like generally stop them, I forgot what the stats called, excuse me, but it was pretty fucking low, like embarrassingly low versus a Clemson offense that isn't very good. Now, I will say this, and Bud Elliott has mentioned this on the Clemson preview a couple days ago, whatever it was. The Clemson's offense isn't, if you look at advanced numbers, if you look at opponent adjusted numbers, isn't as bad as you think, because they have played some good defenses on their schedule. But still, you made them look competent last night. Like, DJ wasn't great. He's not good. But he didn't look completely slapdick. Like, he held it together. He made enough plays, and I don't know what it is. I don't know any Fuller supporters. There's none on my TL. None of my friends supporting him still being the DC for next year. But if you are a Fuller supporter, please tell me fucking why. Because you look back so far, what does he have? How many games? 9 last year. 17 games total as DC. You look. The overwhelming majority of games that he's coordinated on defense have resulted in that opposing offense having one of its better games of the season. Like, almost without fail. We make offenses look better than they are. It is what it is. Let's just focus on this year, though. Let's see. I'm not counting the UMass game. That doesn't count, right? I could line up with 10 of my friends and we might slow down UMass. The UNC game's the only one I can definitively point to. I'm like, that was a pretty solid defensive job all around. Good game plan. Got a couple breaks, but other than that, no. You let Notre Dame run up and down the field on you, right? You let Wake do what they wanted in the first half. In the second half, they clearly throttled back. I think the same can be said for Louisville. Hell, the same thing can be said for Notre Dame. Notre Dame called a different game in the second half. Offensively, you know? Who am I forgetting here? Of course, we let Syracuse put up 30 on us. You know, he is terrible. If there's a Fuller supporter out there that you know, please slap him in the fucking face. Now, I say all that and acknowledge that our offense hasn't exactly lit the world on fire either. However, I think it's fair to say if I was picking a unit that had more potential to be a top 30 unit on top 30 unit from FSU, I would pick the defense. We have a very solid defensive line. The transfers, love it. Keir Thomas, Jermaine Johnson could start at a lot of schools. They are legitimately good players. Yes, our linebackers stink at pass coverage. You know, that's an obvious statement, right? But they're not bad at defending the run. They're not bad at defending the run, and they're not as god-awful at defending coverage as they have been in years past. They're not good, right? And then in the defensive backfield, which has the most issues, like it literally doesn't look coordinated back there so many times. You know, coordinated means like in sync, right? Together, looking like they know what's going on. I mean, we can't play zone to save our lives. We haven't been able to do it since Fuller stepped on campus, right? But there is talent, at least raw talent, in the defensive backfield. And we're not maximizing it for shit. We have guys like Travis Jay, who was a blue chipper, I believe. Akeem Dent, who was a 5-star guy, looking average at best, right? And whereas on the offensive side of the ball, you can kind of understand the struggles a little more because our offensive line, though improved, thank you, Alex Atkins, still is a work in progress. Still not supremely talented. Like, our defensive line's more talented than our offensive line. Obvious things are obvious. We don't have much talent at receiver. We really don't. Our quarterback is run first, right? We're very limited on offense based on personnel. So, you know, the expectation for our offense is much lower based on personnel. But our defensive personnel, excuse me, goddamn, if we had any kind of DC that was any kind of good, we could have a top 30, top 25 defense. I'm not kidding. If we were maximizing the talent on that side of the ball, we could have a fucking boring top 30 defense. Right? So, now I'm looking forward now. I'm off the Clemson game. Right? I feel like it wasn't a step back. It might have been a tiny step forward. The fact that you really got manhandled for the most part, but you found a way to keep it close because you made some plays on defense with the turnovers. Even though turnovers there is some luck involved, the ball literally has to bounce your way. So I'll say, you know, the optimist in me again will say it's a tiny step forward. But going forward, what can the program do? You cannot go into 2022 with Adam Fuller as your DC. I'm not saying anything profound there. I'm not reinventing the wheel by saying that. It has to happen, right? He's not out there recruiting his dirty dick off on the trail. He's not some fucking hotshot recruiter. So he can't maximize the talent that he has on the field. And he's not a hotshot recruiter. Why the fuck would you keep him? So going into next year, if he's still on this staff, and you could fire one or two other people if you wanted to, but I'll keep the focus on him, then I'll no longer be mad at Fuller when our defense is looking, you know, shoddy again. I'll be mad at Mike for not getting rid of him. Or I'll at least be mad at the administration for not stepping up and poning up some dough for any kind of decent DC. I don't know Fuller's salary. I really don't know it. I don't remember it. But I think we paid Harlan Barnett $600,000, $700,000, or $800,000 a year, right? We as a school, we probably can't afford $1 million plus DC, and that's fine. But I guarantee you, we could go find a DC for $700,000-800,000 a year that does a better job than Fuller. Or you could pony up and go pay $1 million for some DC. Listen, I think Muschamp at this point, some of the shine's worn off him as a DC, but the man can recruit. He does have Florida ties, and as much as he may not be as good as some people think he is as DC, I guarantee you he would be an upgrade over Fuller. And that's the thing when we talk about like getting guys in the portal, the players, and hey, he's not that great, but you can't look at it in a vacuum as just the player you're getting. You got to look at what he's replacements, like baseball, looking at WAR, replacement level, right? Muschamp would be an upgrade, no doubt in my mind, over Fuller, right? Because my 6-year-old daughter would probably be an upgrade over Fuller, right? So he has got to go. Now, look at the remaining 4 games. BC, you cannot lose to BC. They are bad on defense. They're banged up on offense. They are not a good team. You should win that fucking game. You won't be favored versus Miami. You won't be favored versus UF. And you're likely not going to be favored versus NC State next weekend. But can you win 2 out of the last 4? Because that would mean you upset at least one of those 3 teams that are going to be favored against you, right? Because if you go 3-9, if you have back-to-back 3-win seasons, how do you sell that on the trail? You don't. The class will crumble. The only way you can maybe salvage it is by making a change on the staff. Like, look, we've made a move. We don't feel like this guy was getting the most out of us, but this guy, knock on wood, a name they know, is going to get us going back on that side of the ball. Also, if he has Florida ties, good recruiter, that helps. But man, I'm going to be at the NC State game next Saturday, and I'm concerned. I think it's a coin flip game. NC State will be favored, probably not by much, but it's a coin flip game. But I'm concerned because Leary, their quarterback, forget their defense and their D-line, which is pretty solid. Not as good as Clemson's, but pretty solid. I'm concerned especially about Leary just going ham against, the back half of our defense, which rarely looks fucking coordinated. I'm concerned about that. Now, Tyler Van Dyke, whatever the fuck, Dick Van Dyke, whatever his name is, he suddenly is not looking bad at throwing the ball. Concerned about him versus our back half of the D. Right? So the win projections seemingly change every couple weeks. I went from we might only win 1 or 2 games, and then we won a few in a row. I was like, maybe we win 5 or 6. Now I'm not so sure. Now I'm thinking 4-8 might be the win total I would bet on if I was placing money down. I don't know, man, but there has to be changes made on this staff. As much as this team has started to slowly play better and the coaches have coached better than they did at the beginning of the year, because make no mistake, this coaching staff cost this. We know that cost them at least 1 win against Jacksonville State. Hell, you can point to 1 play, not playing how to play prevent defense. But beyond that, the QB carousel at the beginning of that game. But anyway, the beginning of the season, you cost yourself at least 1, maybe 2 wins because of coaching. And I'm not going to revisit them, but its number one thing was not going with what you're good at. In the offseason, if you were any kind of fan that knew anything, knew that we would be a run-first team. Jordan would have to be the quarterback. We'd have to do a lot of what we did at the end of last year. That didn't happen, right? You quickly pulled the trigger on Jordan, went with Milton. You fell in love with him for too long, and it cost you at least 1 win, maybe 2. So now in this back half of this more difficult part of the schedule, good fucking luck. But you can't go into year 3 after these first 2 seasons and what we've seen, especially on D. Again, I give a little excuse because I think the personnel is worse on offense. You need to get better players on that side of the ball. Not that the offensive play calling has been great every single game. I'm not saying that, but if I'm going to give one side of the ball any kind of excuse, it's offense, because there's less talent on that side of the ball, in my opinion. I mean, who else's opinion would it be? There's no one else in this car. You got to make changes, and again, to finish out this year, it would be great if you could at least split the last 4. Beat BC, beat one of the other 3 teams you're going to be an underdog against. You have to, once in a while, like you did against UNC, beat a team when you're the underdog. And the teams that are going to be that they're going to be underdogs against aren't world beaters. Like, Miami is better than Florida State, but they're still beatable. NC State's beatable. Florida, I would say less so. Unless they've just packed it in and said, fuck it, Mullen's a clown, we don't care. But you go 3-6, and then let's say 4-8. I mean, what are we doing here? There has to be some changes on the staff. You have to sell something to the recruits. You can't sell a 4-win season after a 3-win season. It'd be really difficult. You'd have to make a change and get some guy with some kind of cachet. And beyond Muschamp on DC, I haven't researched. I don't know who it would be. Somebody with at least some kind of name in the college football world. Otherwise, the classes will absolutely crumble to the ground, and I hate to just, sounds hyperbolic, but if that happens, if you only win one more game, or hey, none, you lose out, the class will crumble, and then you're essentially playing out the string until Norvell's contract is over. I'm not kidding. The class will crumble. You're one step forward, 2 steps back again, taking more time to get the talent you desperately need. And by the time he would get it, if he got it, it would probably be too late and be towards the end of his contract, and we'd be moving on. I hate to get on the jump to conclusions, Matt, but that would happen.